Hi, welcome to The Peaceful Home, and welcome to part 2 of the series, How to Decorate a Room from Start to Finish. Today is all about inspiration. I'm going to show you the inspiration board that I have made for my guest room, including my inspiration piece, the one piece I found that launched me into my colors and my design for the room. If you're new here, it's a pleasure to have you. I'm Teresa Elling. I'm a professional organizer, parenting coach, wife, and homeschool mom to 6 graduated kids. We talk about all things home and family on this channel, and this series is going to be fantastic. I don't know how many videos will be in the whole thing, but you've managed to get in on the beginning because this is only video number 2. There are so many ways to get inspiration for a space. I am a lover of books, and so I have quite a few. This isn't all of them, but I brought a few of my decorating and design books up. I will thumb through those. You can find them at the library. Really great selection. I purchased some on Amazon, or they're always in my wish list for gifts. I also love magazines. Now, I'll just tell you right off, some of my favorite magazines are Country Living, Better Homes and Gardens, and this new one that's done by Better Homes and Gardens, Do It Yourself. This is my current obsession. I really love this magazine. And of course, I mentioned in video number 1 that I am on Pinterest quite a bit, and that's a great source for inspiration. I also mentioned in video 1 that I did not have an inspiration piece for this room yet, but I found it, and I found it at a thrift store. It is simply this piece of fabric. It's a beautiful decorator fabric, and there's not very much here, but I am in love with it. As soon as I saw it, I knew this was the piece that would launch me forward and help me make more design decisions. Now, your inspiration piece could be something that would direct you as far as color or style, or both. This is definitely going to lead me in color with white, pale pink, and this sagey green. It's also leading me forward in design style because this is a bit of cottage country, if you will. Kind of the English cottage, English countryside, all of those things that you think of, a little thatched roof and a cutting garden outside and white picket fence. That is what this pattern evokes for me. And now it's given me a jumping off point for my space. Remember that you can use just about anything for your inspiration. Any kind of textile, a pillow, a blanket, a picture, a piece of furniture, a rug. The other thing your inspiration piece will do is it will help you to decide if you are going to pull colors from it or if you are going to have a neutral palette and that item is actually going to be your pop of color. In this case, I'm pulling my colors from this. Now, since purchasing this piece of fabric, I have bought a few other things. I found 2 blouses that had the colors I wanted and a beautiful kind of calico design. And so I bought both of these. They have good large sections of flat fabric that can be used for a pillow, to line a basket, all kinds of things. I also found this threshold sheet. I thrifted all of these things, and it's almost a little more beige than green, but it's right in the middle, and I think it will be a really great kind of neutral, but picking up the green tones as well. Another thing I thrifted is this beautiful cutwork tablecloth. I plan on using a lot of white. And this, although the color is white, the texture is really going to just bring more detail to my design. I'm planning on making pillows out of this. Now that I have this piece and I have a little bit of direction, I decided to create an inspiration board. Now, I did this on Canva. There is a free version, which works really great. The version you pay for is amazing because it allows you to remove the background from images so that you get a really clean cut of an item, a table or a chair or whatever. Back in the day, I made these all by hand, the way you would have seen a designer do a design board. I would go to the fabric store and find fabrics and ask them to cut me a swatch. I would go to the paint store and get paint chips in the colors I was interested in. And I would put all of these things together, maybe with some magazine clippings and ideas that I had. And of course, you can still do it that way. You can pin things up on a bulletin board. But now I just go onto Canva and I use mainly my own photographs and Pinterest images to put this together. So that's what I've done. I've created this little board for the guest room, and I've got a lot of the things that I've already talked to you about. I think after having my inspiration piece and looking at the pink and green, I think I'm definitely going to paint this dresser green. That could change, but right now that's what I'm thinking. And so this shows some floral pillows in a fabric that's very similar to my inspiration piece. The writing desk that I mentioned to you in part 1, as well as the peg rack and the bench. I will be bringing in a lot of plants. I'm hoping for white bedding with a pink blanket, which I do have the blanket, baskets. I would love to have a breakfast tray to go on the bed. I think that's a really nice touch for a guest room. And I'm going to try bringing in my large teal couch. I love this couch. This was like inspiration for an entire living room years ago. I found this amazing couch in like a teal velvet at a thrift store in Palm Springs. And I think I talk about it actually in my Palm Springs thrift haul, which was last year. I'll check that and I'll link it below if that's the case, because Palm Springs is my favorite thrifting place. Oh, so's Idaho. Okay, Palm Springs and Idaho are tied. But anyway, I'm going to bring that couch in here and try it. And I do not want to spend the money to recover it, but I'm done with teal and that's not going to be in this space. So I think I'm going to try either a tailored slipcover or just throwing like a coverlet over it for a really casual slipcover. So obviously, a design board is not necessary, but it's a lot of fun and it's a great way to kind of pull your ideas together. And certainly you can do that just on Pinterest with your board, and you don't have to do anything else. You've got the ideas up here. Just recently on Easter, we had family and friends gather, and one of my friends picked up one of my design books by Emily Henderson. Now, she was in HGTV's Design Star years ago. That's when I first saw her, and I really love her style. It's evolved a little bit to a little more modern and maybe a little more color than I personally prefer, but I really have a lot of respect for her style. In this book, Styled, she actually has a quiz, and my friend took the design quiz and it ended up getting passed all around to everyone on Easter, and it was really fun. Several of us found that the quiz perfectly explained what we believed our sense of style to be. Some people weren't too sure, but it got them thinking. I really don't think that you can usually peg yourself into one or two styles in particular. Some people are very clear on what they like and don't like, but most people are a bit eclectic. The other book I love is Homebody by Joanna Gaines, and her transformations are just incredible. One of the things I love about this book is she has a section where she goes through different styles: farmhouse, modern, rustic, industrial, traditional, boho. And then what's really fun, each home that's been photographed for this book has kind of a sliding scale of how much of each style is in that home. And I think that's really great, because I think that's usually the way it is. You might have something that has a lot of rustic, but it has a few modern elements and a few boho elements. Or you might have something that's totally modern farmhouse, but you put in a little bit of rustic and a little bit of traditional. This is part of what makes our homes completely unique. Sometimes it's hard to look at someone's style that's not your own and then be able to glean for your own space. So I am doing this in kind of an English country cottage feel. And if that's not your thing, you might be like, well, I'm not sure if this is going to work for me. This series will work for you no matter what your design style is. These are the steps you take for every type of color combination, every type of style. I'm going to show you a few pages that I ripped out of magazines just to give you an idea of some other styles. And I'm going to imagine that I began with an inspiration piece and then built this space off of that. So the first one is this entryway. Now, I'm going to imagine that the wallpaper was the inspiration for this space. This cottage wallpaper, and in building the entry, they wanted a hall tree, and the white beadboard is classic country, and so that's been brought in. It is the inspiration for this chippy, worn bench and a pair of boots. A traditional rug is thrown in, which is just beautiful. And then even the baskets, and the wood basket in particular, very country cottage, little bit farmhouse. So there's a little blend here, and you can just see how one thing you can begin to build and build on it. The second one is this living room. And I'm imagining that the inspiration piece was this chair. This chair is a touch modern, but the textures of it lend to a little more farmhouse contemporary style. I imagine the chair is the inspiration, with already the idea that they wanted neutral colors and maybe bringing in their favorite color of blue with just a little bit of color and pattern. That would be the push to do different colored pillows in these small prints. Each one is different. I just think it's gorgeous. And also the rug and the curtains. Those all came into play after making those initial decisions. And the room really came together beautifully. Next is this bedroom. And I'm imagining that these stools at the end of the bed were the inspiration. So inspiration mainly for style, more of a boho style. You can see with the beams in the ceiling, the home already is very rustic. And so a boho theme is going to go very well with that. And I would imagine that this person likes neutrals. They didn't want a lot of color. They started with the bench and then maybe looked for a quilt that would fit with that style, and then went with mainly solid colors, the blues and browns. But there's a nice textural rug as well. This is a fun one. I'm imagining the inspiration piece for this space was the colorful velvet ribbon pillow. Now from that, they've chosen to pull colors. So any of the colors in this pillow would go in this space. And that led to the green walls and the artwork with the bright blue car and the bright blue pillow and blue woven baskets. The blanket, bench, and rug are some neutrals that have been brought in that really pull the space together without having your eye be completely overwhelmed with color. Next is this kid's bedroom, and I'm imagining that the inspiration piece was the throw blankets at the end of the beds. Now from this, they can pull color a little bit because they've got some color in the pillows, but mainly they're looking for a fairly neutral space with the blankets being a pop of color. And it's really beautifully done with the neutrals, especially black and white. Gorgeous space. Here's another fun one and another kid's room. I would imagine that either the inspiration piece was this quilt or possibly the wallpaper. Either one, it's going to speak to the style, definitely an eclectic, colorful style, but very much traditional. You can see that by the vintage quilt, the traditional bed, the fireplace in the room, the wallpaper, all of that screams traditional, but with such a contemporary feel, and pulling color out of those things to really make it a happy, colorful space. Here's a master bedroom. I would imagine that either the inspiration was the baskets, which would launch into the style that they're looking for, a little bit of a boho or rustic. Everything else is very contemporary, clean lines, or possibly even the blanket. The blanket to pull out color, mainly blue and white. There's that little touch of pink that they've chosen not to incorporate anywhere else in the room. So that's the only place that it is, and it really stands out, and this is a beautiful space. Lastly, I'm going to show you two very similar dining rooms. Now, the first one has a very modern table. I'm not sure what came first, the modern table that launched it into a more modern space, leading to the pillows that are tie-dye and a little more contemporary boho, definitely not traditional. Now this other dining room is very similar. And again, they could have started with the table, which immediately would have said country, farmhouse, cottage, or even the pillows, because these pillows are very similar to what I want to do in this guest room. And again, the calico fabrics, the small print, the colors, the small ruffles, all scream cottage. So here with two practically identical spaces, just by the choice of pillows and the table, you completely change the look. That's all I have for today. I hope this was inspiring as you are looking for an inspiration piece for your home. I would love it if you would comment below and tell me what your next project is. What room are you working on? And do you have an inspiration piece for that space? Thanks so much for joining me today on The Peaceful Home.